Hi and welcome to The Winning Factor. I'm Alan Aitken, and on this show each week we take a look at some upcoming races in Hong Kong and try to identify the main ingredient of the race that we might look back on later as having been a guide to finding the winner. Well, on Sunday, of course, the eyes of the world on Sha Tin for the Longines Hong Kong International Races, and right across the Jockey Club website you can find interviews, videos, all kinds of information to help you with making your opinions on the four main races. And one of those races is going to be the first race we look at here, and that's race 8, the Hong Kong Cup, and our winning factor, the last start win. It's a small but select field for the Hong Kong Cup this year, including the last two winners of the race, the full brothers Time Warp and Glorious Forever. We've got Japan's QE2 Cup winner, Windbright. But the horses that stand out most for me are down the bottom, Magic Wand from Coolmore, the Hong Kong Derby winner of last season, Furor, and the French filly, Edisa. And in particular, I want to focus on Magic Wand from the giant Coolmore stable. Now we're going to take a look at her most recent start, and she'd had a string of Group 1 placings leading up to this, but she finally got her Group 1 win in the McKinnon Stakes at Flemington. You see her here. She's camped behind the two leaders, stalking them all the way, and then comes away in the straight for a convincing win. Now that win makes her the only winner last start in the race, and that puts her in a very good category as far as the Hong Kong international races are concerned. Now I'm going to show you some statistics now, and first of all, these are the last start performances of the winners of the Hong Kong international races over the last 20 years, and I could show you that, but you might go a little bit figure blind, and it looks much better when you display it like this. And on our pie chart you can see that the last start winners in blue there have a dominant role to play in these races. Now we can compare that to how last start winners perform in Hong Kong's normal racing scene, where only around about 16 to 17% of the last start winners are victors when they step out again. So you can see it's quite a significant difference. Now, a lot of that is to do with the fact that most of the races in Hong Kong are run under handicap conditions, whereas these are weight for age races on Sunday in the four main feature events. But it's still worth keeping in mind as a way to shortcut your form study. Across the four races on Sunday, we have 12 last start winners, and 6 of those appear in the one race, the Hong Kong Vase. So it certainly helps in whittling down the horses you might be keen to consider. And in the Hong Kong Cup, that makes Magic Wand a standout because she is the only last start winner in the race. And when we take a look at the map of the event, I think it's going to look very similar to what happened at Flemington. As I mentioned, we have the front-running brothers, Glorious Forever and Time Warp. Now they're going to take up the first two positions in some order. There's usually a little bit of a tussle before they decide who's in front. But I think that Magic Wand can be positioned right up behind them and tracking them into the straight and ready to pounce. So in race 8, the tip, Magic Wand. Her winning factor is the last start win. As we see, last start winners have a powerful record in these Hong Kong international races. She's the only last start winner in the Cup, and I think she's going to get the run of the race as well. The second race we're going to take a look at for Sunday's meeting is race 9, and the winning factor here, the map. Well, it's a full field, but to me there look to be 3 standout chances in the race. Zach Burton's ride, Water Diviner, is one of them, and incidentally won his Hong Kong debut at this meeting a few years ago. And the other 2 that really appeal here are horses that he met last start and who have bumped heads a couple of times lately, Mr. Croissant and Aero Happiness. And it's the latter pair that I really want to focus on. Aero Happiness and Mr. Croissant have met twice recently, and the score stands at 1 win apiece, and I think they'll fight this out again. If we go back to race 111, where Aero Happiness came out on top, he's in the pink and green colours, he's midfield on the inside, and he gets a lovely run through the field to win the race, while Mr. Croissant has to go wider. They raced much together for a fair bit of the race in the middle of the field, but the difference was an inside draw for Aero Happiness and that run through on the inside, and Mr. Croissant having to go around them. And of course, Aero Happiness gets the better run and the better result. In race 178 next time, however, the barriers were the other way around. This time Mr. Croissant had the draw, Aero Happiness drew out, and the difference was that Mr. Croissant mapped better, he got a better run through the race, while Aero Happiness, he got much further back from the wider draw and wasn't able to bridge the gap. Now, there were extenuating circumstances there, as Aero Happiness also pulled up with a little internal bleeding issue, and that certainly didn't help him. But given that he had to give away such a start to his main rival there, I doubt that he could have made up that ground and won the race anyway. And that's the sort of line that we're looking at here again. When we look at the map for Sunday's race, we've got Mr. Croissant in gate 6, Aero Happiness a couple of stalls wider than him. And I think that's going to mean that once again Aero Happiness has to give away a big start to his rival. And there's good speed in the race, that should suit both horses, but I think that might be the difference between them. So the tip in race 9, Mr. Croissant, his winning factor, the map. As we've seen in their two meetings recently, the horse with the better draw did get the better run through the race, gave him an advantage, and he took the prize. And I think that'll be the case for Mr. Croissant on Sunday. Well, that's it from the winning factor for this week. Have a great day on Sunday with all the big Group 1 action, and we'll see you next week.